Hey, third graders, so here is your first week, but lesson 2 of your English lesson. So, from your first lesson, you should have learned quite a bit about Rosa Parks and the amazing things she did to help African Americans gain their rights in the United States of America. So, we'll be talking a little bit about that, but then I'm also going to read you a story that is about a boy who lived in the time of Rosa Parks. Okay, so from your research, you should have learned a little bit about civil rights, but I'm going to give you some background information too. So, a couple hundred years ago, African Americans were actually slaves to white people. Being a slave meant that they worked for white people and were treated unkindly, but they weren't getting paid for their work. They were in the possession of white people, which wasn't right. So, then in the 1800s, the United States went to war. So, states in the southern part or the bottom part of America had slaves to help them yield their crops, like do cotton and things like that. But then states in the north or the top part of America did not think this was right and wanted slaves to be set free. So the north part of America and the south part of America went to war and they fought about it. And the north side ended up winning the war, and so it became illegal to have slaves in the United States of America. Okay, so this was back in the 1800s. Then if we fast forward 100 years later, even though having a slave was illegal, African Americans still weren't treated fairly in the United States. So, like little things like they weren't able to go to the same school as white people. They weren't able to go to the same restaurants as white people, or they had to sit in different sections. They had to sit at the back of the bus. They couldn't even drink from the same water fountain as white people. So, I mean, that's just a couple examples. They just weren't treated fairly in the United States. And so there were all these amazing people like Rosa Parks or Martin Luther King Jr. who decided this wasn't fair, and they wanted to fight for the rights of African Americans because they wanted them to be treated fairly in the United States. Okay, so Rosa Parks is an amazing person who stood up for these African Americans and tried to fight for their rights. So after you did your research, hopefully you found out some new and interesting things about Rosa Parks, but then we're also going to read this book that kind of goes along with it. Okay, so this is called Back of the Bus by Reynolds, illustrated by Floyd Cooper. Okay, let's see if it works. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to read this story to you, and then after this story is over, you will answer some questions about what you learned from the story. All right, December 1st, 1955, Montgomery, Alabama. Winter's here in Montgomery, but I got the window down and a warm breeze blowing in as Mama and me huff down Cleveland Avenue on the big old bus. We're sitting right where we're supposed to, way in the back. So if you notice, he's an African-American child, and so back then in the South, he had to sit in the back of the bus. That was the rules, okay? I take out my marble, all shiny and bright, like a big old tiger's eye, and I lay it on the grooves in the aisle. The bus slows down and that marble rolls and rolls. But a dark hand jumps out from a seat up front and grabs my marble good. But it's just Mrs. Parks from the tailor shop, so there she is. And Mrs. Parks would be Rosa Parks, right? She looks back, smiling, flings a wink at me, and sets that marble back in its groove. That bus takes off again, and my marble comes right back to me like I got it on a string. Mama shakes no at me, and I hold it snug in my hand. She got them worked all day eyes, and she's got her strong chin on, so kind of pushing her chin out, she looks confident, okay? The bus slams to a stop, doors slinging open, and people piling on, all crammed like lima beans. That long, dark aisle's all packed in, jammed up tight, and I'm glad my marble's tucked in safe. Y'all gotta move now. It's Mr. Blake, the driver. I can't see him because of the people jam, but I know that growly old voice. Some folks get up, new ones sit down, but still that bus is sitting there stopped. Why ain't we going, Mama? I say all soft. Hush, child, she says, and I do. Somebody's talking back, but I can't hear the words. Just Mr. Blake saying, I'm going to call the police now. We sit and sit, not going no place. Nothing to do but sweat. So I roll my marble on that sticky old seat and catch it before it goes down the crack. But Mama says, put it away, child. I hear Mama's crinkled up something's wrong voice, and I hunker that brown tiger's eye, that's what his marble's called, down deep into my pocket like it's hiding. Some folks look back and give us angry eyes. We do something wrong, Mama? I say. No, we ain't, she says. But I ain't sure, 'cause I'm getting shaky legs. So think about maybe why these people are looking back at these guys angry. Okay, we're going to find out in a little bit. So all these white people are looking back at them and are glaring at them, even though they didn't do anything wrong. Some folks are doing mean, scratchy whispers at somebody who's sitting up front. And then I see who it is from way in the back. Mrs. Parks, that's who. She don't belong up front like that, and them folks all know it. But she's sitting right there, her eyes all fierce like a lightning storm, like maybe she does belong up there. And I start thinking, maybe she does too. 15 whole minutes we sit, but it feels like a big bunch more. That breeze is long gone, and I want me a drink real bad. But then the policeman comes. He walks right on my bus, and I'm all shaky inside now. Then the lima bean people spread aside, and he stops at that way up front seat. Okay, so here's Rosa Parks, and she, if you learned from your research, she's refusing to get off the bus right now because African Americans were told that they have to sit in the back of the bus. And she decided to sit up front, and she did not want to get up her seat because she didn't think it was fair. There's no reason that African Americans should sit at the back. Why won't you move and give this man your seat, he says to Mrs. Parks. But she don't move. She's just sitting in that seat like a turnip pile. I don't think I should have to stand up, she says. Why do you push us folks around? Her voice is all soft, but she's got her strong chin too, just like Mama. Oops. That policeman clicks them metal things on her hands, so that would be handcuffs, and loud like the screen door slamming, and off the bus they go. There you go, Rosa Parks, stirring up a nest of hornets, Mama's saying in her to-herself voice. But I hear. I see something, too. She's got Mrs. Parks' lightning storm eyes now. We in trouble, Mama? I say all soft. No, we ain't, she says. Don't you worry none. Tomorrow, all this will be a forgot. But I got something in me, all pale and punchy, saying it won't be. So he believes it won't be forgotten. He thinks that people will remember this for a long time, and he's right. After Rosa Parks did that, it changed history forever. Don't know why, but instead of feeling all shaky, I feel a little strong, like Mama's chin. I take out my marble, and I start to hide it in my squeezy tight fist. But instead, I hold it up to the light, right out in the open. That thing shines all brown and golden in the sunlight, like it's smiling, I think, 'cause it ain't gotta hide no more. Okay, so Rosa Parks stood up for them by sitting on the bus. So now he's starting to feel a little bit strong. Even though Mama says, oh, don't worry about it, it'll all be forgotten, he knows better, and he knows that what Rosa Parks did will make a difference. Okay. Let me see, I think that's the end of the story. Okay, friends, so that was the end of the story. I do have a couple questions I want you to answer about Rosa Parks and about this story that I just read to you. Remember, you can rewatch this video if you need to, or even turn off my voice and read through it on your own. But there will be a couple questions, and we'll continue to talk about Rosa Parks and the Civil Rights Movement and all the amazing things that these people did to help African Americans gain their rights in the United States of America. Okay, let me know if you have any questions, and have a good day.